Hello everybody, welcome. My name is Brian of Hessens County. I'm glad you could join me again today. Today we are going to be jumping back into our actual play of Lineage, the Epoch edition with the Qing Dynasty. And today is actually a special day because da, 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 the printed text has arrived. It looks quite nice. Very nice cover. Very good paper. I will admit all that. It is a little stiff. We'll work it in. Obviously for the sake of our actual play, I'm going to keep using the digital format because it is a little easier to use. One thing that did come in here, other than a sort of like card of the cover, is this. I don't know if you necessarily can read it. Probably not, because it's so small on the screen. But there is now a magic system that you can potentially use that has on this little card. It's actually quite simple. Basically the idea is that when you're playing your monarch and you have rolled up the events, but before you start like kind of describing exactly what happens in them, you talk to the witch that lives inside of like the palace or castle that your monarch lives in, like in the basement somewhere, and you can roll as many six-sided dice as you want to gain a special advantage. You pick one. So for example, you can extend the life of your monarch, so you get roll 2 extra events. Or you can give your monarch the title the Lionheart. You can give your monarch a magical item that becomes a special heirloom. You learn the true name of a person so you can manipulate them in one of your events. You know, various and sundry things. You change time, so you get to re-roll a single event. However, there is a price to be paid. So, for example, if I rolled, let's say, 3 dice to determine which one of these, I get to pick one, right? So let's say I have 2 dice in my hand. I roll them, right? And I get 2 fours. So no matter what, I have to go with 4. A conversation is held with the dead, and truth has been revealed, right? Then I have to, once the magical effect has been determined, I have to roll those same number of dice, so in this case 2, to determine what the price is. And the highest number I roll is the price that I pay. So in this case, I rolled a 1 and a 6. 6 says, the monarch's immediate family vanishes without a trace. Obviously quite extreme, right? Other ones are the monarch has no grandchildren. The monarch is haunted with nightmares for the rest of their life. The monarch's spouse becomes ill. Presumably that might affect the number of heirs you have and stuff. The monarch's grandchild earns the title the Pathetic, which ends up with +3 to their weakness. Various and sundry things. So, I think now that we have a high priest, I think at least I will keep this option in my back pocket, where let's say the monarch consults with the high priest, and the high priest is the one who actually enacts the magic, at least until we don't have any high priests anymore, and then we'll see. Or you never know, maybe the high priests will end up becoming kings, in which case that'll get really weird. Jumping right into things. Here is, of course, is our dynasty up to this point. We are now on monarch number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Hereswith, which we decided last time. So we need to go ahead and determine. Before I do that, previously, when the high priests became high priests, I added +2 to our instability under the perception of our dynasty being unstable. I realized that that was an accident. That was not something I should have done. Instead, I should have put that +2 into weakness and not into instability, because they have two very different effects on, like, when things start getting bad and you start rolling on the weakness or the disloyal or the instability tables. They have very different effects, and the weakness clearly shows more like your dynasty has kind of proven that it's not really ruling on its own, and there's like people working behind the scenes, which is kind of what I wanted to go for. While instability is more of like, you know, there's lots of issues within this dynasty when it comes to personalities and, you know, mental capabilities and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll to determine the title, the nickname of Hereswith. So we rolled a 1 and a 6. So looking at our table, that means that we are Hereswith the Charitable. So, of course, next we've got our spouse. So let's go ahead and roll to see what type of spouse we've got. I have a 3 and a 6. So we're from a local noble house known for its rebelliousness. And for the name of our individual, I'm going to go with Woodfront. Of course, now it is time for roll for heirs. All right, I rolled a 6 and a 3, so that's 9. All right, -5, so we are going to have 4 heirs. All right, so we got 4 events, so let's go ahead and roll them up. Again, we're going to be rolling on the Golden Age table, because that's still what we're in. For our first one, we have a 6 and a 3. A militaristic religious group seeks to build institutions within our kingdom as they have in others. Their traditions are very different from our own. They could be powerful allies or powerful enemies. Admittedly, this could be that like monarch worshipping religious cult that had developed during the rule of our parent, during the rule of Wasa II. They're just, you know, expanding their actual institutional power within the kingdom. Our next event is a 1 and a 4. Earth tremors coincide with a meteor storm. The populace fears the end of days. Who will reassure them? Who will reassure the monarch? The kingdom begins to fall. Oh boy. Alrighty, so we've now jumped over to the fall table for our next 2 events. The first one, I rolled a 6 and a 1. Six and 1 says, a neighboring kingdom is encroaching on our borders, claiming our lands as their ancient right. Our military leaders advised that direct conflict would be ill-advised. All right, our final event is a 2 and a 4. Uh-oh. Ho, ho, ho. A highly contagious pox has struck the royal palace. Several servants have died suddenly and painfully. What has brought this sickness home? And what steps are being taken to ensure the monarch is protected? All right, so now that we have those, I'm going to go ahead and roll the death event. So for the death, I rolled a 6 and a 4. 6 and 4 implies that we died in a fire. I think, considering some of the things that we have gotten, pulling some magic would be a good idea. I'm really hoping that we might be able to at least change one or two of these events. So I'm going to roll 4 dice. Time to go to the High Priest and see what can happen. All right, we have 2 2s, a 3, and a 6. 2 says I can re-roll an event. 3 says I can manipulate a person. 6 says that I have discovered a magical item that will become a valued heirloom. I'm going to re-roll the military invasion. I need to roll what the price was for our magic. So for our price for our magic, I ended up rolling a 5, which means that our monarch is going to have no grandchildren. So that means that once our heir has been determined, we're going to have to go back up the family tree to one of our current... After our heir's life is finished, we're going to need to jump back up and go through princely houses. Depending upon how that goes. Or maybe we'll jump over to the high priests. Who knows? Anyway, so now we kind of need to determine exactly how all of this is going to go down. All right, I need to re-roll the event. So let's go here. We're going to scrub time. Here we go. So I rolled a pair of 4s. Advisors suggest boosting the monarch's popularity with a costly festival. This may rally the support of the nobles, but the peasantry are unlikely to be impressed. Okay, so now what are we going to do? Okay, so for our first event, we are going to say that the this foreign militaristic, well, foreign means just like strange here in this case, not actually like from overseas or something. This is going to be the personality cult, sort of like building strength. So the earth tremors that coincide with this meteor storm, I'm going to say that Hereswith acts with extreme acts of kindness and tries his best to assist the people. And they're going to be supported a great deal by the High Lord Oswin, the High Lord of that vassal kingdom. They're going to send us a lot of assistance. So now we have competing interests that are becoming even stronger in the kingdom, because we have High Lord Oswin that's from outside the kingdom technically, who's boosting their support and hold on the kingdom from one end, and then of course this sort of personality cult that was built around Wasa with the high priests kind of pulling on the other side. So for this festival that the advisors are suggesting, I'm going to say that Hereswith rejects their calls to try to get this big, elaborate, rich festival that obviously a lot of the nobles are going to enjoy, and instead they choose to create a smaller festival that is basically geared towards boosting some of the practices and traditions that are among the common folk, to try to popularize them and to sort of embrace the common folk more closely than under previous monarchs. So with this highly contagious pox, I think what's going to happen is that the pox was ended up entering the palace during the course of this sort of like common festival that the Hereswith decided to organize. And as a result of it entering the palace, the monarch, Hereswith, ordered that the bodies would be burned on the palace grounds instead of like taking them outside of the city and burning them there to try to prevent the spread. But this turned out to be a grave mistake, because the fire kind of ends up burning a bit out of control, and ends up severely damaging the palace. and that, or the keep that the monarch's seat is in, and that Hereswith ends up getting uh, killed in the fire, or from like destruction in the palace, that kind of thing. Okay, so that was rather grim, unfortunately, and that has taken a very drastic turn for our kingdom. I'm going to be making some small changes to the totals that we have here. Oh, I forgot to put the spouse of our monarch here. Let's see, Wufrun. Let's go ahead and put that here before I forget. So, first off, we need 4 kids. Okay, so I have gone ahead and added all of the different individuals we're going to need. So now we just need to be giving people some names. So for our high priest, I think I'm going to go ahead and grab the name Cuthbert, because I just love that name. Cuthbert. For our monarch, I think I'm going to name them. Let's use a name we haven't used yet. Let's name them Kindamer. For our 3 siblings, let's go with Edwin, Wasa, and Elfwin. Okay. And then for a High Lord, we're going to do something a little different. So I actually created 3 different cultural name lists. So I'm actually going to pick from a different culture. Well, I'm going to go under the assumption that the High Lords over in that other land, they're starting to blend in with some of the local population, or maybe some other population that they've been exposed to, some other culture nearby. So they are starting to adopt new names. So we're going to go with Tangi. Alrighty, let's see. Yep, we've got all that set up, and we've got our. And now, one thing we need to remember for next time is that none of these people down here are going to be having any children. So, just to kind of reflect some of the horrible, horrible things that were happening up here with Hereswith the Charitable, I'm going to say with Hereswith we probably added 1 to our weakness because of the this sort of the high priest gaining more power, and also the high lord. I mean, yeah, we act to assist the people, but High Lord also was giving us a lot of support as a part of that. So we're gonna increase our weakness to 3. The fact that we slighted the nobles, I'm gonna say, maybe add 1 to disloyal. Whoops. I think everything else though I'm gonna add another 1 to weakness just because of the manner of our death. I mean, just it makes the dynasty in general look bad when we make a decision like that and then it goes horribly wrong. Or rather, no, actually no. Instead of adding 1 to weakness, I think in this case I really will actually add another 1 to instability, or yeah, the reputation as our monarchy is being unstable, just because Hereswith made a really bad decision, and that could be read by some people far in the future as being a sign of maybe that the monarchs can't make good decisions, but we'll see. All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining us today. We have completed the life of Hereswith the Charitable. Hereswith experienced a lot of bad things. The kingdom is starting to kind of go on the slow downward slide. Hopefully, maybe next time or the time after that, we'll roll some events that'll pop us into a different phase, maybe going back to Rise or Golden Age. We'll have to see. But in any case, things will definitely be very interesting with this new magic system that we might not use every time, but I suspect that we might be dabbling in it more often than not. So we'll have to see. In any case, thank you all for joining me. Again, a link if you wish to take a look at Lineage for yourself. A link to the store page will be in the doobly-doo down below. I don't know if Wash Your Hands Games has any more of the actual books left. I don't know how many they ordered or any of that stuff, so you're going to have to just check. And my stuff about my stuff, of course, is also in the doobly-doo down below, so please go ahead and check it out. Be sure to check out the blog, the Hessens County blog at hessenscounty.com, no apostrophe. Or you can take a look at any of the videos that I'm sure YouTube is probably popping on my face or near my face or somewhere around me. Also, please remember to subscribe if you wish to continue to see this series or any of the other videos that I release. And thank you all for joining me today. Have a good sale.